How are we going to solve quadratic equations? Know how in this video. Hi learners! Today we're going to talk about how are we going to solve quadratic equations. So we have four ways in solving quadratic equation. First is by extracting the roots, by factoring, by completing the square, and using quadratic formula. The first way of solving quadratic equation is by extracting the roots. So, kailan lang ba natin pwedeng i-apply ang extracting the roots? So, tatandaan natin, ma-apply lang natin ang extracting the roots pag ang linear term ng quadratic equation ay equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. Therefore, ang form ng ating quadratic equation ay ax squared plus c is equal to 0. So, may dalawang steps sa pag-extract ng roots sa quadratic equation. Ang pinakauna is we're going to isolate the quadratic term. At ang pangalawa naman ay ang pagkuha sa square root. Okay. Example number 1. X squared minus 25 is equal to 0. So, first step, kailangan natin i-isolate yung quadratic term natin. Ano ibig sabihin ng quadratic term? Ang term na may exponent na 2. Okay? So, kailangan nating ilipat si negative 25 sa right side ng equation. So, we're going to transpose negative 25 using the addition property of equality. Okay. So, we have x squared minus 25 plus 25 is equal to 25. So, ang addition property of equality, kailangan nating mag-add ng 25 sa both side ng equation para matanggal si negative 25. Okay? So, matatanggal ngayon si negative 25 kasi nga negative 25 plus 25 is equal to 0. So, what remains is x squared is equal to positive 25. So, get the square root of the left side of the equation as well as the right side of the equation. So, this will be cancelled out. And what remains sa left side would be x. Okay. Now, what is the square root of 25? Okay. Kung principal root yung kukunin, we only have positive 5. But then again, we're talking about quadratic equation. Therefore, we are expecting that we are going to get two roots. One is positive and the other is negative. Kaya nga, ang roots natin dito sa number 1 would be positive, negative, 5. Okay? If we're going to separate them, x sub 1 or the first root is positive 5. And the second root would be negative 5 or in any order. Okay? Next, let's have number 2. We have x squared minus 36 is equal to 0. Again, gaya ng ginawa natin kanina, isolate natin yung quadratic term natin or yung x squared. So, kailangan natin i-transpose si negative 36 sa right side ng equation. Okay. Using, this time, we're going to use addition property of equality. So, we have x squared minus 36 plus 36 is equal to 36. So, nagdagdag tayo ng positive 36 sa both side ng equation para matanggal si negative 36. At malipat siya sa right side ng equation. Again, pwede rin nating i-shortcut, pwede rin nating i-transpose agad si negative 36 papuntang right side ng equation. Automatic magbabago ang kanyang sign from negative magiging positive 36. Okay. So you can skip this step. So what remains would be x squared is equal to 36. So the next step again is to get the square root of the two terms sa both side ng equation. So, kukunin natin yung square root ng term sa left side. Kukunin din natin yung square root ng term na nasa right side. Okay, so what's the square root of x squared? This will be cancelled out. So, ang square root ng x squared is x equals. Again, sa quadratic equation, meron tayong automatic, meron siyang dalawang roots. Okay? One is positive and the other is negative. So we're going to place plus, minus, 6. So sa madaling salita, x sub 1 is positive 6. X sub 2 or yung pangalawang root is negative 6. Okay? So to check, 6 times 6 is 36. Okay? And negative 6 times negative 6 is also 36. Kaya nga, may dalawa tayong roots na nakuha. Okay. How about ang third example? So, yung binigay na problem is 4x squared minus 49 is equal to 0. Okay, again, i-isolate natin si x squared. Pwede natin i-transpose si negative 49 sa right side ng equation. So, you will have 4x squared. Again, pwede natin siyang i-shortcut. So, i-transpose natin, ibig sabihin, ililipat natin si negative 49 sa kabilang side ng equation using addition property of equality. So, okay na i-skip natin tong step na ito. So, you will have 49, it will become positive 49. Okay, so from negative, naging positive siya. Kung positive naman yung given ninyo, once na-transpose, it will become negative. Okay, this time, may numerical coefficient si x squared na more than 1. Okay, so kailangan muna nating tanggalin ang 4. How are we going to do that? So, to get rid of 4, we need to divide both sides by 4. Divided by 4. At sa right side din is divided by 4. So, 4 divided by 4, this will be cancelled out. 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. So, matitira na lang sa atin sa left side ng equation ay x squared. Then, we have 49 over 4. Okay, last step. We're going to get the square root ng both side ng equation. So, square root ng x squared. At the same time, square root ng 49 over 4. So, cancelled out. X. Okay, how are we going to get the square root of a fraction? So, ang gagawin lang natin dito is kukunin yung square root ng numerator at the same time kukunin yung square root ng denominator. So, since they are perfect squares, so walang problema. So, what is the square root of 49? The square root of 49 is 7. How about the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is 2. Of course, wag na wag natin kalimutan na ilalagay natin yung plus minus sign. So, sa madaling salita, ang x sub 1 natin or yung unang root would be positive 7 over 2. At ang pangalawang root naman or si x sub 2 would be negative 7 over 2. Okay, let's continue. So, example number 4, we have x squared is equal to 12. So, mapapansin natin, naka-isolate na agad si quadratic term at saka si constant term. So, we're going to proceed now with the second step. We're going to get the square root of the both side of the equation. So, we have square root of, okay, susulat ko ulit. Square root of x squared is equal to the square root of 12. Cancel x. Okay, since we are not allowed to use a calculator, so how are we going to simplify this one or how are we going to get the square root of 12? So kung mapapansin natin, si 12 is not a perfect square. So paano natin siya i-simplify? Okay? Ang first step is to get all the possible factors of 12. Okay? Doon tayo focus muna sa mga positive factors. So, alam natin na ang 12, ang factors niya could be 12 times 1 or 1 times 12. Pwede rin 6 times 2 or 2 times 6. And pwede rin 4 times 3. Okay. Now, titignan natin yung pairs ng factors ni 12. Okay. Yung ilalagay natin ngayon or i-express natin si 12 as product of two factors. Now, saan ba dito yung kukunin or i-consider natin na factor? Yung i-consider natin dito na factors or pares ng factors is yung pair na kung saan may factor na perfect square. Okay? So 12 times 1, walang perfect square sa kanila except 1. Okay? Pag 1, di rin natin siya pwedeng makonsider kasi nga uulit lang yung given. How about 6 and 2? So 6 and 2, wala ding perfect square. So we are left with 4 times 3. So kung mapapansin natin, 4 is a perfect square. Pag sinabi natin perfect square ang isang number, kung kukunin natin ang kanyang square root, ang answer ay integer or integers. Halimbawa, pag sinabi natin square root of 9, ang 9 is a perfect square. Kasi nga, ang square root niya ay positive 3 at negative 3, which are both integers. Okay? How about square root of 13? Square root of 13 or 13 is not a perfect square. Kasi nga, ang roots or square roots niya ay hindi integer or integers. Okay, so in this example, ang kukunin natin na factors would be 4 at 3. So, we will have 4 times 3. Okay. So, kung titignan natin, saan sa dalawa na factors lang yung pwede nating ma-extract ang root or yung square root. So, since 4 lang ang perfect square, so pwede nating kunin yung square root ng 4. So, what is the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is positive negative 2. Okay. So, x is equal to positive negative 2 times the square root of 3. So, maiiwan si 3 kasi nga hindi siya perfect square. Although, pwede pa rin natin ito yung simplify, pwede natin gawing decimal, but since we're not using calculator, so this is considered as our final answer. So, the final answer is plus minus 2 square root of 3. X sub 1 is equal to 2 square root of 3. At ang x sub 2 naman natin, or yung pangalawang root would be negative 2 square root of 3. Okay, dako tayo ngayon sa last problem. X squared minus 72 is equal to 0. Okay. Sorry, nakalimutan. Okay, so again, ang first step, we're going to isolate yung quadratic term natin. So, we're going to transpose negative 72. Lilipat natin sa right side ng equation. So, yung negative 72, using the addition property of equality, is magiging positive 72. So, x squared is equal to 72 or positive 72. Next, second step, kukunin natin yung square root ng left side ng equation at kukunin din natin yung square root ng nasa right side ng equation. So, square root of x squared is x. Okay, how about 72? Again, kung titignan natin, 72 is not a perfect square. So, iisip tayo ng mga factors niya na kung saan yung isang factor niya, isa sa mga factors niya ay perfect square. Okay. 72. So, yung number 5 na problem is similar lang sa number 4 problem. Ano yung mga factors ni 72? Pwede na 1 times 72. Pero yung 1 times 72, although ang 1 is a perfect square, hindi na natin siya i-consider kasi nga, kung ito yung i-consider natin, babalik lang tayo dun sa given natin na 72. Ano pa? How about 6 times 12? 18 times 4? 36 times 2? 24 times 3? At 9 times 8. Okay. Tatanggalin agad natin yung mga factors na walang perfect square. So, 6 and 12, walang perfect square. 24 and 3, wala ring perfect square. So, ang natitira would be 36 times 2 at 9 times 8. So, in this case, may perfect square sa dalawang pares. Dito, perfect square si 36. Dito naman, perfect square si 9. So, saan yung i-consider natin dito? Yung i-consider natin dito is yung pinakamalaki na perfect square. Okay? So, we're going to consider 36 times 2. So we will write here 36 times 2. Okay. Anong mangyayari kung 9 times 8 yung kinonsider natin? So kung 9 times 8 yung kinonsider natin, yung 8 is meron pang factors or may mga factors pa na kung saan ang isa sa kanila ay perfect square. So ang factors ng 8 is 4 times 2. So magko-continue na naman yung process at lalong hahaba. Kaya nga, yung kailangan natin i-consider is yung pares na may factor na pinakamalaki. Okay? So, we were going to consider 36 times 2. So, x is equal to. This time, we can extract 36. So, what is the square root of 36? Square root of 36 is 6 or plus, positive, negative 6 plus minus 6. Then, matitira sa loob si 2 kasi nga hindi siya perfect square. So, yung final answer natin would be x is equal to positive negative 6 square root of 2. So, x sub 1 or yung first root natin is 6 square root of 2 or positive 6 square root of 2. At ang x sub 2 naman natin is negative 6 square root of 2. Okay, so we're going to proceed now with the second process. So, sa second process, sa pag-solve ng quadratic equation, gagamit tayo ng factoring. Or we're going to solve quadratic equations using factoring. So, I'm going to provide a link below sa description natin. Ilalagay natin dun yung, we have a separate video discussing factoring. So, let's have problem number 1. X squared minus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0. So, ang pinakauna nating kailangan gawin is of course, we need to get the factors of the given. So, how are we going to get the factors for number 1? Okay. So, ang first step, kukunin muna natin yung square root ng first term. So, ang first term natin is x squared. So, the square root of x squared is x. So, we're going to write here x and x. So, we're going to focus with the third term. So, ang third term natin is 12. Now, isip tayo ng mga factors ng 12 na kung saan yung dalawang numbers or dalawang factors, pag kinumbay natin, the answer will result to the numerical coefficient of our second term, which is negative 7. So, ano ba yung mga factors ni 12? Okay, pwedeng positive 4 times positive 3. Pwede ring negative 4 times negative 3. You can also have 12 or 1 times 12. Pwede ring negative 1 times negative 12. Okay, kung papansinin natin, pag ang mga pares ay imumultiply natin sa kanilang kapartner, the answer would be equal to the last term. Okay. Ngayon, saan sa mga factors na to ang i-consider natin? Okay. So, yung i-consider natin, pag yung dalawang factors kinumbay natin, ang result should be equal to negative 7. Okay. So, kung 4 plus 3, magiging positive 7. Kung negative 4 plus negative 3 naman, magiging negative 7. Kung 1 plus 1 plus 12, magiging positive 13. Kung negative 1 plus negative 12 naman, magiging negative 13. So, sa mga factors, ang negative 4 at negative 3, ang makakarive tayo ng answer na negative 7. Again, pag ang negative 4 and negative 3, i-multiply natin, makukuha natin yung last term. Pag i-combine natin silang dalawa, makukuha natin yung second term. Kaya, ang i-consider natin na factors would be negative 4 and negative 3. So, sila yung ilalagay natin dito. negative 4, and negative 3. So, pwede ba magkabaliktad? Pwede ba mauna sa negative 3 and negative 4 follow? Pwede. Since nakuha na natin yung factors na given natin, yung dalawang factors, we're going to equate them each by 0. So, kuha tayo ng vertical line. X minus 4, yung first factor natin, i-equate natin sa 0. Same din sa second factor na x minus 3. So, that would be equal to 0. So, sa first factor, we're going to solve for x. So, paano siya i-solve? We're going to transpose negative 4 sa right side ng equation using the addition property of equality. So, you will have x, or x sub 1 is equal to negative 4 magiging positive 4 na. Kasi nga, nilipat natin siya sa right side ng equation. So, our first root is equal to positive 4. How about the next factor? So, same pa rin yung ginawa natin kanina. We're going to transpose negative 3 sa right side ng equation. So, negative 3 becomes positive 3. And, this would be our x sub 2 or yung pangalawang root natin. So, the second root would be equal to 3. Let's have now problem number 2. So, sa problem number 2, we have x squared minus 4x minus 12 is equal to 0. So, again, we need to get first the factors. So, square root of the first term, square root of x squared would be x. So, we have x and x. So, now, focus with the last term. So, isip tayo ng dalawang numbers na kung saan pag minultiply natin sila, magiging equal to negative 12. At pag kinumbine naman natin sila, magiging negative 4. So, same sa number 1, we have a lot of factors. Okay. So, ano kaya yung dalawang factors na pag minultiply natin, magiging negative 12? Okay, let's try. Negative 12, yung factors niya would be 1 times negative 12, negative 1 times positive 12, negative 3 times positive 4, and positive 3 times negative 4. Pwede ring 6 times negative 2 or negative 6 times positive 2. So, these factors, pag multiply natin sila, sa bawat pair nila, the answer would be negative 12. Okay. Pero, yung i-consider lang natin is yung pares ng factor na kung saan pag in-add natin sila or i-combine natin sila, magiging equal sa numerical coefficient ng second term, which is negative 4. So, sa tingin niyo saan kaya na pares ng factors ang once na kinumbine natin, magiging equal to negative 4. So, the answer is negative 6 and positive 2. Kasi nga, ang negative 6, pag kinumbine natin sa positive 2, magiging equal to negative 4. Okay, which is equal to our second term or the numerical coefficient of the second term. So, ilalagay natin ngayon si negative 6 and positive 2 or minus 6 plus 2. Again, pwede silang magka-interchange. Since nakuha na natin yung dalawang factors, we're going to equate each factor to 0. So, we have x minus 6 is equal to 0 and x plus 2 is equal to 0. Let's solve first the first factor. So, we have x or x sub 1 would be equal now to positive 6. Bakit naging positive 6? Kasi nga, transpose natin si negative 6 papuntang right side ng equation. So, negative 6 becomes positive 6. How about sa second na factor? So, we have x plus 2 is equal to 0. Therefore, ang ating x sub 2 would be equal to negative 2.